Hi guys, welcome to a Clockwise Anachronia Agility guide. This is using bladed dive, mobile and double surge only. The acceleration pots in my inventory will not be being used. And this is to try and improve people's lap times, and Clockwise is, I think, widely known or lesser used, I would say. As a route, most people find the anti-clockwise route more intuitive, especially while learning the course. So I want to show people actually that this way around, once you know where to stand and what to do, it's actually pretty fun and about the same speed as the anti-clockwise laps. So starting off from the base camp, you will of course start by traversing down the cliff face. And then traversing down the second cliff face. And then we're going to walk around this corner here and surge into the ruined temple. We will then bladed dive across this diagonal here. And we will surge through to the cave entrance. Most people are pretty familiar with this first level 30 section, as they will turn around here and go back from level 30 to level 50, but straightforward stuff. So now we need to head over to this ruined temple, and unfortunately bladed dive can't take us the whole way. It's more than 10 tiles. So two options here. One, you can even bladed dive here and walk over. What I prefer to do though is you click the temple, your character moves forward. As you sort of hit this corner here, you're going to bladed dive to this tile here, which is slightly off the course, but it means that you'll be able to reach the temple and, yeah, saves you some time. So click the temple, hit bladed dive, and click the temple. And just like that, you're at the next obstacle. From here, we're going to use a single surge. We will not surge over the second part, as we are going to need a surge in a second. So we're going to walk over, and now we'll do our first angled turn. So what we want to do is surge down this hill, and then bladed dive to the top of the temple over here. Now we have to be careful, because when you use surge down here, and the reason we surge first and don't bladed dive is that surge will not take us, or bladed dive will not take us exactly in line here. So if we bladed dive, we'd have to then adjust ourselves to surge in. But by using surge first, we can use bladed dive to match the angle. The easiest way I found to do this is there's a tile here, this one here, which you can click on, and it does the right trajectory for your character. But what you want to do at the first instance of your character turning is you're going to hit surge. So you're going to click, your character's going to turn, and you're going to hit surge. And it's going to put you down to here, which then allows you to bladed dive up to the top. So I'll show you that in one swift motion. So you're going to land, you're going to click, you're going to surge, you're going to bladed dive, and it'll bring you to the top of the temple, and you can continue on with the course. From here, you're going to walk across, because you're going to need another surge for this stretch over here. And then you're going to do a max distance bladed dive with a surge, like that. And then you're going to click over here, round the corner, hit surge again, and off to the bones. From here, we're going to bladed dive to the top of this second vertebrae in front of us. This will allow us to cut some time off the corner. So right here, it's like right on this crease in between the two vertebrae. And then you're going to click to cross, and then we're going to just walk over to the other end of the bone skull here. You can use a little surge here if you want. And then we're going to walk over to the cliff face. From here, we're going to use a surge into a bladed dive to get to the next obstacle and the start of this ruined temple. So you're going to surge, you're going to bladed dive, and then climb up the temple. And at this point, we are able to use two surges here and then a bladed dive to get across this platform. So the first surge will be here. And you'll surge over here, and then bladed dive to the end here as you've just used both of your surges. And this means that your surge is going to be back off cooldown, and you're able to surge over to the roots. Next up, we're going to use bladed dive to reach the corner here. So we're going to cut around the corner with a bladed dive. And then we're going to use two surges back to back to get over to the vines over here. So surge and surge again. This next part then, we're going to use bladed dive and surge in order to get up to the vines. The easiest way to do this, I found. And if you're doing this at optimal speeds, your surge will be slightly on cooldown, but it doesn't particularly matter. As long as you just spam it and use it as soon as it's up, it's fine. But you're going to do a max distance bladed dive diagonally, which will bring you down here. And then all you have to do is click the vine, spam surge, and you'll surge up to the vine here. Now there's a couple of ways to do this next part. The easy way, and then the maybe slightly more complicated way. So the easy way, you would just click the root, and as your character does the zigzag, you will then reach this point where you'll surge, and then you can bladed dive to the root here. Or alternatively, you can make use of NPC turning, which is when you talk to an NPC, your character will rotate itself to direct themselves towards the NPC, and you can use this to allow your character to dive diagonally, or surge diagonally. So you'll talk to the NPC, you'll surge as you round the corner, and then you'll bladed dive to the root, and that will look something like this. So click surge now, it brings you out here, and then you bladed dive to the root. The bladed dive for this, because of the bladed dive here, will be slightly on cooldown as you're doing it, so you'll want to make sure to only use bladed dive after you've used surge, not at the same time. And now we can climb over the root, and we're on to the next part. Here we're going to want to cut the corner. We don't have bladed dive or surge, we have a single surge, so what you're going to do is you want to click on this kind of darker, almost cracked looking square here. This square right here with the little marking is where you want to go to. This will angle your character into the right position, and then you can hit surge to come across the column. By now, bladed dive and surge will be back up, and you're going to want to bladed dive, surge through the little doorway. If you go too far forward with your bladed dive, it won't work. I tend to aim just the top of this sort of flowery, mossy debris. So somewhere about here. So click that, and then when you hit surge, you'll go straight through the doorway. And then you can continue. Climb over the block, then you'll click on the root. As your character turns, hit surge, which will bring you closer to the obstacle, and then you can just climb over. And now bladed dive will be coming back off cooldown, maybe one tick delayed, and then you can click the bladed dive at the bottom of these routes. We'll run around the corner, hit surge, and then we're going to bladed dive to the vines. Now at this point, if you were using acceleration potions, you'd use your Excel pot, but for the purposes of this, we're going to use a double surge across the straight, climb over the block, and then we're going to have to run a little bit down the block. Our surge is still on cooldown. So we're going to run down the block. We're going to bladed dive to the top of this mushroom. This will put us in line with the ruins. So this is a bit timing based. I'm sure if you watch this video back multiple times, there is an exact sort of position where you could do it. I tend to just get the feel for it. You kind of run down, you bladed dive. So maybe when you reach the bottom of the tiles, you click the ruins, you surge over, you climb up. Surge up to the vines, and then we're going to use a bladed dive to cut across to the bone jump here and jump over. From this point, we now have two different options. We have, I think, the better option, which involves using a vengeance turn, so using a spell which you don't have the runes for to create an error message, which coupled with a red click will rotate our character, or the more simple version in which we will do a double surge. So the simple version is you'll surge, you'll click the rock, you'll surge again, and then you'll climb up. Because of the bladed dive here, your bladed dive will be on cooldown, so you'll click over towards here, and then when you sort of reach about here, you'll use bladed dive off cooldown to come up to here and continue. Because you are doing a little bit more running here, there's a slightly more optimal version, which I'll go back and show you now. So if we come back over to the bones, so I know I'm facing them the wrong way, but for the purpose of this demonstration, it doesn't matter, because we're going to be using, in my case, Disruption Shield or Vengeance. My anti-clockwise guide has a bit more detail on this, but you'll want to click the rock with a red click. You'll want to use your ability with no runes to cause the error, which will rotate your character and allow you to surge. So rock ability, let me try that again so it's a bit cleaner. Rock ability at the same time. Character's now pointing off to the side. You'll hit surge. At this point, you'll then run over to the rock. And then you want to aim your bladed dive to this sort of corner of this flowery patch. So there's this sort of patch here. It's on this corner. So you want to come here. And then you'll click over to the root and surge. And it lines up nicely and you'll just fit right in the gap. So pick one of those two methods and then surge over here onto the vine. To reach the next vine, we're going to use a bladed dive surge combo. So bladed dive and surge. Bring us right over to the vine. And then from out of this vine, you're going to hit surge and start to run up the hill. As soon as you can, you're going to click the ruins and then surge again when it's off cooldown to reach the top. And this time I'm going to use a manual click in order to get a good trajectory for a surge bladed dive to the top of the next set of ruins. The tile we're aiming for is this tile here. And the best way I have to kind of describe it's in line with this route here, but if you form this kind of like triangle with this leaf and this leaf, it's the kind of the triangle of the three. So it's this tile right here. I don't really know a better way to describe the tile, but essentially what you've done is you've rolled around the corner, you've done an L-shaped turn, which makes the game think you're aiming diagonally, and now when you hit surge, you'll come across to here, and then you can bladed dive to the top of the ruins. And from here, you will surge across to the plank, and then surge down to the ruined temple. Upon jumping down from here, your surge might have a 1 or 2 second cooldown, so you can just stand here and wait. And then you're going to target your bladed dive at the end of this brown tiled section onto the ground. And you're going to surge bladed dive to come over to the column. Again, jumping down here, your surge will be on a bit of a cooldown. I like to anticipate just in case the dinosaur's in the vicinity. And then as soon as your surge is off cooldown, you'll surge forward and run over to the cliff face. From here, you're going to do a max range bladed dive and a surge, which will put you here. The benefit of being slightly off the course here is that now you're going to run around the corner and be on this north-facing side, which means when you're running down towards this tree, you'll click the tree, your character will start to turn, and the second it starts to turn, you can surge down, and it will work. So the second you see your character start doing a turning animation, you're able to hit surge, and it will line you up nicely for the tree. Now to reach the cliff face, we're going to want to use a bladed dive because we've just used our surge cooldowns. What we're going to do is we're going to click the cliff face. Our character needs to run a little bit and it will do a bit of a turn. So it will do this turn here. As it's kind of reached the diagonal point about here, you're able to cast a bladed dive at the bottom of the cliff. So let me just show you that in full. Just going to jump back over the tree, make sure I'm in the right spot. So you'll jump over the tree. You'll click the cliff face. And then you'll bladed dive to this tile. When you click the cliff face, you get a yellow marker where your character needs to go, and this is your bladed dive target. By doing this, it means your character, when climbing the cliff face, is facing north. You are able to bladed dive also to this tile, but if you do this, sometimes your character faces off to the northwest, and that means that when you click surge, you'll just end up surging into the wall. Not ideally what you want. So from here, you will climb the cliff face. And you'll use 2 surges to come down this straight here, and then you'll head over to the vine. Now for maybe the most technical part of the clockwise direction. In order to make it look good, at least, you're going to need to reach this route, and what you're going to do is you're going to target a bladed dive. You're going to click the ground to rotate your character around and then surge over to the route. So I aim my bladed dive about here, and then your bladed dive, and then you need to click sort of one of either this tile, so you'll do an L shape, or a tile around here which will angle your character off. If you end up clicking a bit too far away and you try and surge, you might end up surging towards this direction. So you need to just kind of get a feel for how it will look. But if you manage to click one of these tiles, you'll end up surging off towards the route and then you'll be able to climb over. So let me just show you that, hopefully at full speed. So from here, you're going to aim your bladed dive at the bottom of this shrubbery. You're going to and there you go. Over to the route you go, and from here you can just click this to climb over. This last surge now is a bit of a timing based exercise, but essentially as your character will start to run down here, it will do 2 sort of zigzaggy motions. So there's one and there's another. When it does the second one, that's when you want to surge, as it allows you to cut the corner down by the log. So you're going to click down by the log, there's 1, there's 2, and when you surge, you see it cut off this whole corner, and now you can just walk up to the vine. It saves a little bit of time. If you surge straight away, it does work. You end up down here, but then you have to do this long zigzag, and it's just not as ideal. And then finally, we're going to bladed dive to the bottom of the cliff face. You want to aim for the east side, as that's the part of the cliff face you climb up. And then just simply climb up this cliff face, climb up this wall, and the lap is complete. And there we go. There is one clockwise lap done on Anachronia. I don't particularly have a PB like I did on the last time. I think I've had times in around the 5:10, 5:08 mark with, very efficient laps. But yeah, give Clockwise a try. And, combine this with the anti-clockwise video that I have. You'll be able to have basically 0 downtime on the course, and you don't have to run between each section. Plus, a bit of variety is always good when it comes to agility. Any questions, feel free to ask down below, and good luck with training agility, everyone.